Welcome. My name is Brandon. Please join me on this tour of Skylark Center in WIllmar, Minnesota. While this is a medical and business center today, it was WIllmar's first mall. I first drove by in October 2020 after filming Kandi Mall, Uptown WIllmar, on a Saturday. As I was about to cross the street between the malls, I realized the parking lot was completely empty, so I drove the 2 hours back home. I later learned that Skylark Center closes around 2 p.m. on Saturdays. It really is a business center. It is open longer hours on weekdays. A few years after filming Uptown WIllmar, I realized that WIllmar was about an hour from our cabin. I returned to finally capture this mall on video. There's not a lot of history of this mall, so I had to dig through obituaries and people's memories on Facebook. WIllmar residents and modern real estate documents mention that Skylark Mall opened in 1965. However, there was a ribbon-cutting ceremony on the property in 1964. Skylark Mall opened with Tempo Department Store, Red Owl Grocery Store, and White Drug as early tenants. White Drug had their own cafeteria. Tempo was owned by Gamble Skogmo, while Red Owl was operated by General Mills. Gamble Skogmo purchased Red Owl a few years later, in 1968. Gamble Skogmo was a retail conglomerate based out of St. Louis Park, Minnesota. I had never heard of Tempo until I started researching Faribault Town Square back in 2021. But ask any Minnesotan over 40 about Red Owl, and they will probably smile or laugh, thinking about happy memories. SuperValue purchased Red Owl in 1988, which phased out the name. United Natural Foods Incorporated, or UNFI, purchased SuperValue in 2018 for $2.9 billion. Minnesotans loved Red Owl so much, the new owner said Red Owl branded merchandise at their Cub Foods grocery stores around 2019 to nostalgic customers. Going back to 1973, right across the street from Skylark Mall opened the brand new and larger Kandi Mall. This was less than a decade after the opening of Skylark. Hey, look at this. June 24th, 1964. Oh, you can't see it? I took a second photograph to make the date more obvious. The people are standing in front of a grocery store. Did Red Owl open before the rest of the mall? So here I am supposed to keep yapping away about history, but there were no articles I could find to validate when places closed and were replaced by others. Some residents recall Tempo closing in 1976 or 1977, which seems accurate, as all locations were closed by the early 1980s. In 1985, Thrifty Drug bought the White Drug chain, which included the location in Skylark Mall. Thrifty rebranded their stores to Thrifty White. Thrifty also owned the drugstore and Kandi Mall, so there were now 2 Thrifty White stores across the street from each other. The Kandi Mall location closed in 1998. Employees from that store relocated to the Skylark Pharmacy. I can verify Red Owl made it to at least 1988 from an obituary by Bill Pearson, who was the store manager there upon his death that same year. Over the decades, Skylark Mall became more of a business center and was renamed Skylark Center. An eye clinic, affiliated Community Medical Center, or ACMC, moved into the old grocery store in 2005. Patients loved having a lot more space than the previous location, and people who had memories of it being a grocery store were shocked at how nice the place looked. Thrifty White closed its Skylark location in 2015. A new, smaller Thrifty White pharmacy opened on 1st Street South. ACMC joined Caris Health, and in 2022 was renamed to CentraCare. That same year, the owners of the mall across the street, now called Uptown WIllmar, worked with a planner to ask the WIllmar City Council to allow them to rezone Uptown WIllmar as a general business district. The planner also approached the owners of Skylark Center to do the same, which would allow for self-storage, multifamily housing, and restaurants on the property. As of December 2024, Skylark is still as it was in July. As for Uptown WIllmar, I will not spoil anything. I'm saving that discussion for my next video. My original Uptown WIllmar video was my 5th video. I remember it being my first good video, but I am happy to share a new version that won't make you seasick. It will be a proper video with mall history and changes that have occurred since 2020. I hope you come back for that. Thank you for joining me today on this tour of Wilmar's original mall, Skylark Center. I also hope you have a great day. Take care.